Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Winter Wolf here. A little bit behind with the movie viewing and reviewing, so it comes as a little bit of a shock today when I finally got my day job squared. And I looked at box office returns for Shazam, Fury of the Gods, and I had to scratch my head and do a double take. I got up, I walked away for a little bit, I came back and said, nah, that couldn't be right. 30 million opening weekend? I had to check my phone. I checked the clock. I went outside, made sure like maybe the magnetic poles hadn't flipped around and we got sucked into some kind of time vortex, because I haven't seen a movie bomb that hard in forever. And I got to thinking maybe that the whole time travel thing happened and we had gone back in time and when 30 million was a big success or something like that, and thought maybe we had woken up in like 1992 or something like that. I couldn't quite get a feel for it. I can't remember the last time a movie bombed on such a colossal level. I gotta go back and check to see, but I don't even think the Eternals opened to such a shitty box office tally. So what on God's green earth is going on over there at Fury of the Gods, Shazam 2, whatever you want to call it, Zachary Levi? What happened? I mean, didn't the first one make like $1 billion or somewhere in the neighborhood of $1 billion and generally get well received, and critics and audience scores alike on Rotten Tomatoes had generally favorable things to say about part one? So what happened here with part two? I don't get it. It puts it in a spot where there's a very little interest in me going to check it out now, even for the purposes of a review, because I think the numbers don't lie. Or do they? Because we see here on the Rotten Tomatoes graphic that it's Shazam Fury of the Gods is trending worse with the critics than it is with general audiences. And if you've been around the channel for a hot minute or so, King Z and I usually are of the theory that if the critic score is low and the audience score is high, it generally means something is, in fans' perspective, it's something decent, and the critics are just pissy that it doesn't promote a certain kind of agenda. Likewise, if it's reversed, if a movie gets massive critical acclaim and gets kind of crapped on or review bombed, as the critics like to say, then it means that the right-wing trolls came out of their basements and had awful things to say about cast members who happen to be people of color, or women in strong action-oriented leads, things like that. But I'm not sure that's the case here. I wonder if, and this is just complete speculation on my part, it's why you guys show up.
Guilty speculation.
A little bit of the opinion and things like that. Is superhero fatigue real? Is this a thing? And we see here in the clip, we get articles being printed almost en masse that are trying to come up with reasons that superhero fatigue is a thing, where as early as a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, superhero fatigue was a theory or was a phenomenon that was often derided by critics as not being a thing at all, and people are just bitching and complaining that they're not getting legacy characters that they want. There's no such thing as superhero or Star Wars superhero fatigue or Star Wars fatigue. So I'm not sure. I think there might be a little bit of an element of that, because as we've seen, we can see steady box office decreases going all the way back to Marvel Phase 4, and now on the DC side, where they haven't put out anything of any kind of significant substance in how long? Like, what was the last big DC movie that actually came through and blew people away? Black Adam underperformed last year. Wonder Woman 84 tanked the year that came out. I mean, can we really count like the Snyder Cut of Justice League as a performer? It wasn't a box office release, so it's not even really up for in that same kind of discussion. So I'm not sure that tracks. I mean, the Batman with Pattinson, not part of the old and now decommissioned DCEU universe. So I'm not sure that plays a big role either. I wonder if this is the first of the dominoes to fall on the DC side that have to do with certain actors that they just refuse to cut ties with. And I wonder if the effects of the Amber Heard, Johnny Depp court battles and all the insanity that went along with that. You guys can check out articles all over the internet for that, going back a couple of years now, that document in detail. The Umbrella Guy did a bang up job keeping track of all that, so you can check out that channel for sure. The Umbrella Guy Tug, great coverage of that. We also have on the DC side of things the Ezra Miller phenomenon. where this guy couldn't keep himself out of trouble almost on like a bi-monthly basis for the better part of 2 years, and for some reason they kept him around. And I think a lot of people might just finally be, putting their money where their mouth is and not supporting the DC side of comic movies because of these kind of, executive level decisions where they're keeping people on that seem really lacking in character. And I wonder also too if there's, on the DC side of things, maybe if the recent revelations that they'll be moving forward without Henry Cavill, without Gal Gadot, and we've got stories, that Cavill was almost unceremoniously duped into thinking he had a part to play going forward and then didn't. And now we're hearing over the weekend stories that, spoiler alert, that Gal Gadot may have been deep faked into Shazam. Like they couldn't even bring her in to read actual lines or something. I have to dig more into that story a little bit later. And Gunn saying that he's moving forward doing other projects with younger characters, younger Superman, younger this, younger that. I think really kind of alienating people that kind of had hopes that we might be finally getting a cohesive vision for the DC movie side of things that Marvel kind of had brought to theaters, going back 15, 20 years now. But I don't know so much that that's going to be the case. It seems like based on this box office return for Shazam that a lot of people are just starting to sit it out, because if you have crap critic ratings for all the usual critic complaints, and actually some of these are a couple right here. These are typical critic rants. Sometimes a movie's bloated, it's heavy on action, light on story. Oh, this is a cliche. But a lot of the positive audience reviews, good family fun, kids love the special effects, Zachary Levi's funny. So it's tough. It puts you in a strange spot trying to figure out where this movie went wrong. Because, we thought Ant-Man went wrong a few weeks ago when it only has now through 4 weekends cleared something like 205 million domestically or 250 million domestically, whatever that number is. So that's kind of that's a flop in its own right. But 30 million opening weekend on a movie whose budget had to have been, God only knows what, for something like Shazam that's basically 97% CGI. 200 million? I don't know, 250, something like that. So this movie is an absolute atomic bomb. I don't see where they go from this, because if this movie, based off of, or following a movie that had done really well, is coming through on this level, where do films like Blue Beetle go? Who? When they come out that don't have the same kind of recognition that this does? Where does a movie like, Aquaman 2, Lost Kingdom, and whatever the hell that one's called, where does that one go, having a direct tie with one of the actors that I mentioned? I think a lot of people have just overwhelmingly publicly soured on, Amber Heard. So I don't know. I wouldn't want to be part of the DC setup right now. It just seems super sketch. I don't know. But I want to take another look at that Gal Gadot deepfake story, because I didn't see a whole lot of coverage on that, and I did only hear that in a couple of places, but I thought that was kind of interesting. So I'll take a look at that. But in the meantime, guys, did anybody get out to see Shazam opening weekend? What did you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. If you hung around this long, I appreciate it. Consider, dropping a like, a comment, get the dialogue going, chat it up with your boy Winter Wolf. He wants to talk movies. If you didn't like what you heard, I don't tell you, it's my opinion. It's what I do. Maybe you'll like the next one. Hopefully you stick around and check us out again later. And invite you guys to go back and rewatch our short form content for Mandalorian Season 3, Episode 3. Also on the channel, it is in fact the previous video. But until then, guys, I'll see you in the next one.